All right. Well, welcome everyone. Today I have the great privilege of interviewing my dear friend Sharon Carne with Sound Wellness. And I know that she has so many wonderful things that she can share with parents and teachers and anyone who, spends time or loves kids. And yeah, I can't wait to share these things. So first, Sharon, I want to congratulate you on your new granddaughter. And I know that you have two amazing boys that you've raised, and now you've got two beautiful granddaughters. And I'm wondering if, with your experience, if there are some tips that you could share to younger parents, things that you wish that maybe you had known when you were younger.
Oh, I have a list. Second time around as grandmother is nice, Nola.
I bet.
Because one of the things, and we're discovering this with both our sons, each of our sons and their wives now have a child. And it's a learning curve, and they're finding, and those with the beautiful little McKenna who's 2.5 weeks old, it's a learning curve. And they're wondering, what resources do I go to? How do I learn how to handle this beautiful little being? They have been in parent and baby class, so that has helped. So they have some resources there. They also they have a beautiful little dog, our little grand dog Finny. So they also took a course through the SPCA on how to introduce a pet to a new baby. So that's been a bit of a learning curve for them too. And oh gosh, one of the things, I guess, that one of my favorite things to do with our other granddaughter who lives in Vancouver, and what I always did with our kids when they were growing up, was to sing. And my mom did this with us when we were growing up. She always sang. And so one of the things I have always done with little Sienna in Vancouver over the phone, or especially over Skype, I still love Skype, to stay in touch with grandchildren when you're far away, or children. And so I would always sing. And even when she was really little, when we were out there visiting and holding her, if she was a little fussy, I'd start to sing. And it's like, what's that? I like that. And she would always become so still and listen. That I always recommend sing. There are so many sources and resources. And one also on YouTube. And if you're not sure of all the words to all the songs, my son in Vancouver showed me, Nola, that there are children's YouTube stations that have all the nursery rhymes and song, all the old songs we grew up with that are kind of leaving common knowledge a bit. And so they're still there. And they would put on, if we were in the car and she started really getting fussy, then we would get our phones out and open up the YouTube and sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And one of her favorites, that's her favorite song. She loves Twinkle. And also, I'm a little teapot, short and stout. And so then and then when it gets to the tip me over and pour me out, then we would do a tip, and she would laugh and giggle and laugh. So there are so many of them that are action songs. For thousands of years, this is how parents taught their children before they could speak. When they were really, really little, it's one of the traditional ways is singing and storytelling that we teach children. It always has been.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And I mean, as you're saying that, I think back to when my kids were younger, and I used to sing to them all the time. And it's funny because even, when I've been teaching piano lessons, and I'll often, say to my students, oh, do you know, and it would be songs that I used to sing to my kids, and they're like, no. And I'm like, oh.
I found that too. Yeah.
I thought, yeah, but no, we used to sing, and we loved those action songs. And yeah, it's very true how they, with the actions, they'll giggle away and have fun. So, oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for that. So the next thing I wanted to ask you about, because I know what I've been hearing from several of my clients, I mean, kids are back to school, and now the colds and the flus and stuff are starting to hit, and it's like, oh yeah, I remember those days. And I know you have some wonderful ideas on ways for kids, well, for all of us, to boost our immune system. So you want to share some of your wisdom around that?
Well, thank you, Nola. And this is a biggie because I see it with the students. I still have guitar teaching 1 day a week. That's one thing that I've spent 40, 50 years doing almost since I was in my teens. And I've always loved teaching. And many of the little ones are coming in with colds, and the parents too. So it is that time of year. And one thing I really wanted to share, which is one of the most powerful tools that we've found in all the research I've done in sound wellness, is they're called Perfect Fifth tuning forks. And we have a 5-minute track of this for free, downloadable track at soundwellness.com. It's in our store. So you can go to the Sound Wellness website and click on products at the top, and then click on categories when you get to the store area. And then the categories will bring up sound tools. And then it's a few links to get there, but you can go to the tuning forks and download 5 minutes of it just to test it out. But it's interesting in the science. This is what they look like. And maybe I'll put them the same. One of them is a little bit longer than the other. The one that's a little bit longer is 256 hertz. And it's related to one of the Earth's frequencies. So it's a sound that feels like, it's like automatic relaxation. We've played these by hundreds of people's ears, and that's the response we get. First, we get the sigh, and then we get the ear-to-ear smile. Oh my God, that feels so good. So, the shorter fork is a G. Now, in music, that means that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes away. C, D, E, F, G. And it's called a perfect fifth because they're 5 notes apart from each other. Well, one of the perfect fifth has been known from at least 5,000 years ago, probably longer, that it is one of the most healing intervals or sounds that there are for the human being. Well, in recent science that was done on these forks and one other fork, by John Ballou, who's a naturopathic doctor and a music therapist, and Dr. George Stefano, who's a neuroscientist. They teamed up to research these forks with a big question. Can the sound of these forks stimulate the cells of the body to release nitric oxide? Now, there were 3 research scientists who were awarded the Nobel Prize in Medicine for just discovering it. It is so important. When this cycle is operating normally, then our health is strong, our mind is clear, our circulation is free, our digestion is improved, our stress is lowered. It's an enormous natural cycle. But we live in a very stressful world. And whenever we're experiencing the speed, whenever there's a lot to do, and we don't always recognize when we're stressed, that's another huge problem. And that depresses the nitric oxide cycle. So their question was an important one. Can we stimulate it naturally? Because there are a lot of pills that have been created that stimulate this cycle because it is so important for our overall health and well-being. And they found that whether they were pointing the sound to live cells in a petri dish, which don't have ears, or whether they had live human subjects experiencing the sound, nitric oxide was stimulated in the cells in less than 30 seconds. It's a huge immune system booster, in addition to emotional stability and everything else with health. It's so important. And could I play these by the microphone? I have a microphone here just to give you a chance to hear what they sound like.
Please
Okay.
do.
Alrighty. So here's the C first. Whoops. the sound doesn't always last too long over the internet. So, but it'll give you a sense. Here's the G. It's a little bit higher, and here's the sound of the two of them together. That's the response. You know, one of the things that tells you, the body is responding in a healthy way is all of a sudden there's an automatic big breath. That's the sign. And always.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, and as soon as you started to play it, I just felt that. And then I laughed as you played the G because I thought, yeah, I'm smiling. It's amazing. Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah.
And what about the forks? Do you want to share how parents could get a hold of them?
We have them on our website. We're sold out at the moment, and we've already ordered more in, and they should be in a couple of weeks, at least from this date, which is the beginning of October. So by mid-October, we should have them, mid to third week of October, we should have them in stock. And they're a spectacular tool. They're so simple. Takes less than 30 seconds. You can put them on the kitchen counter, and just with a little, usually we use a little rubber activator. I used my knees that time to tap them on. And what a wonderful way to just send the kids off in the morning with focus and a strong immune system and just feeling good. Mm-hmm. The response is, well, there's always the ear-to-ear smile. Oh, that's such a nice sound. And the physical response of the nitric oxide cycle working normally is rather subtle. We don't always feel it, except that after a few hours, you might notice, I feel better. I'm in a good mood today. I wonder why I'm in a good mood.
And so if parents were to do this, would you recommend like they, do it, as you said, every morning before the kids go off to school? Or is there any other tips that you have to share with parents about these forks?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you, Nola. And in the morning is awesome. It takes, as I said, one good tap is less than 30 seconds. So, or one good tap lasts 30 to 45 seconds, and it takes less than that to stimulate the cycle. If they're coming home tired or grumpy, or if they've had a full day or they've had a frustrating day, they can be used again just to help settle them down or help them focus before they have to do homework.
Okay. Well, that was my next question around, homework. And I know I've been hearing, midterms and exams and stuff like that, which is, stressful. And also, how do kids just focus? And I know you have tools for that as well. So would you like to share that with us, please?
Oh, there's so many, Nola. And for recorded music, one of the things that I love to use whenever I need to focus and be very productive is a CD I created called Woodland Song, or what it is it's bird song and water, gently bubbling water. And nature sounds are some of the healthiest sounds there are for the human being. And the interesting thing about water is that it helps to relax the body, while birdsong helps to focus the mind. Birdsong is a high sound, and generally high sounds help you focus your mind. And because birdsong is so unpredictable, of course, then the brain is always looking for patterns but can't find any in birdsong. So the result is the brain becomes very focused and productive. Along with gentle bubbling water, it also becomes, your body becomes relaxed. So it's a way to not get stressed out when you really have to study. There are also a couple of other resources I'd like to share that parents can go to. One of them is I brought this book out to share, The Mozart Effect for Children. And the subtitle is Awakening Your Child's Mind, Health, and Creativity with Music by Don Campbell. And it has innumerable suggestions and recommendations of what kind of music to use in the background that helps you focus. And classical music has generally been used for a lot of this, particularly, which is why the title, particularly Mozart and sometimes Gregorian chant. The music of Mozart is highly structured. And it's also a very interesting combination of the high sounds and the low sounds. And a lot of the tempos, which is how fast the music is going, is around 60 beats per minute. Now, one of the things few people know is that within minutes, your heartbeat will match the beat of the music playing. And 60 beats per minute is within that range of a relaxed heartbeat. And so the combination of the structure in the music and the high and low sounds and then the beat of the music also helps to focus the mind. And so you can also go, I think it's to mozarteffect.com, and you'll find lists of ways and recordings you could probably purchase and download that are specifically designed to help with productivity and focus.
Okay.
Another website that I really, really love is called advancedbrain.com. advancedbrain.com, and they have a program there called the Sound Health Series, which also has, it's a set of 8 CDs, and about 4 of them out of that set of 8 are designed, again, to assist with productivity and focus.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. All right. One of my next questions, and again, this is things that are coming up with my clients, parents are telling me, is kids having trouble sleeping. So do you have some suggestions for that? I'm sure that there are songs that, or pieces that can help kids settle at night.
Yeah, actually, those both of those resources have programs there to help children sleep.
Okay.
And lullabies actually have been used for tens of thousands of years, probably in human history, as a way to slow down the child and help them relax. Mm-hmm. So that when you sing slowly, it helps to slow the body rhythms down. Because when we're stressed, when a child is crying, then the heartbeat gets higher. And of course, as a parent, your heartbeat, you're concerned, so your heartbeat starts rising. And when you're singing with a slow rhythm, or you put something like this on in the background, a lullaby in particularly, it helps to slow some of those body rhythms down.
Wonderful. And I know that you also do toning. Can you tell us a little bit about that for people that don't, have a clue what that is?
Oh, well, thank you. That's an interesting question because it's something we do every day, actually. Toning is what I call the natural voice of the body. And the things we do every day that use that natural voice of the body, these are sounds that come from the body, not from your mind or your voice. They come from the body. And it's things like, that's a toning. That is your body's natural way of relaxing. And then there's also, ah. You hear that a lot with puppies and babies.
Babies, yes.
That is a heart sound, and that opens the heart. It's the heart expressing an appreciation or a beautiful feeling. There's also, ow. If you've ever stubbed your toe and tried not to say ow, then you'll find it hurts a whole lot more. And from the studies being done on some of these natural sounds of the body, moans and groans are included in these natural sounds of the body. These sounds actually stimulate endorphins from the brain and your nervous system that helps to manage pain and helps the body heal. So there are certain sounds you can do to expand the effect of this endorphin release from the brain. So, for example, one of the things that is a huge stress buster that takes seconds is the sigh, and what I like to call a vocalized sigh. So, we know from science that low sounds tend to help us discharge excess emotional energy from the nervous system. High sounds charges your brain and your nervous system, gives you more energy and more focus. So we can use the voice. Of course, the voice has high and low sounds. So knowing that, what I like to do with the vocalized sigh is start in the middle of the vocal range and let it drop with a sigh. A vocalized sigh that sounds like this. You can almost feel your shoulders dropping. It is so simple and so effective.
So it's a great tool that you can teach your kids to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
They probably do some of it naturally, I'm sure, when they're right. But
it's all of those. Aw, Mom, that's Tony too.
Okay, yes.
Whining is another one.
Okay. Gives us another way to look at that whiny. Okay. And I also know, because I like to talk to the parents about, self-care and reducing stress for themselves, because when, they're more relaxed, of course, their kids will be too. And I know you have lots of suggestions for that, and even, a program that people could take. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, thank you. And this is very true, Nola, because the science has, and I've run across more and more articles in this field. It's called secondhand stress. And this happens with the parents at work. If you work in an environment that is very stressful, if someone around you is stressed and you're not, then stress is transmitted through mirror neurons from another person's brain to yours. So this also works with children. Other kids at school or a teacher that's highly stressed will transmit that stress to the children. Children transmit it to children. Parents transmit it to children. Children transmit it to parents. Secondhand stress is something to plant in your awareness to be aware of. And what self-care is so important. And to have those simple tools that only take seconds, like the sigh or the tuning forks, that benefit your health in such profound ways, are really helpful for managing those stress levels, because that has become the epidemic of the 21st century, is stress. Yeah. So we do need to be aware of it. And in our fundamentals program, because sound in so many ways is an enormous stress buster, one of the things that we do in our fundamentals program is give a buffet of different kinds of sound for you to experience for yourself. Because we're all wired for sound, but we're all wired uniquely for sound. What works for somebody else doesn't necessarily work for you. Or your children. So by going through a buffet of experience and recorded music and how and why it works, and a whole pile of different engineered sounds, and then also using the sound tools. These Tibetan singing bowls are enormous stress busters, the tuning forks. So we play with a lot of these, and then using the voice, which is enormously powerful because it's inside of you and it's something you always have with you. And with a few simple ways of using it, like the sigh, the vocalized sigh is enormous for reducing stress in seconds, then that gives you a lot of tools that you can use in moment to moment, because we need these from moment to moment, because that's kind of the way our lives go at right now. We need a lot of tools from moment to moment.
Right. Very true. Well, I remember when I took your program, and one of the things that still really stands out for me is how, as you said, we're all wired uniquely, and how different sounds can affect us differently. And I remember you playing one piece, and for me, I just felt, really grounded and absolutely loved it. And yet there was someone else in the class that got a headache and almost had to leave the room. And so that, I found that very surprising. So could you talk a little bit about that? Because I think it's important for parents to understand that and also to share that with their kids because, they're listening to all kinds of music and, often I'm sure not paying attention to what it's doing for their body. And I think that's something that, is very important if kids are stressed out or getting headaches and stuff. Maybe it has something to do with what they're listening to, right?
That's actually a very interesting possibility, Nola. I agree. And because we are all unique, and when your kids get to that teenage stage, our older son, well, our younger son, really had a journey with heavy metal music. And this was something that both my husband and I struggle with, and me especially. And fortunately, I always checked out the words to most of the music he was listening to, and he was always thrilled about sharing his favorite guitarists with me. So he shared a lot of his music with me, and even though it's something that doesn't resonate with me, it was interesting how healing that was for him at a certain point in his life. When he was 15 and 16, he went into a clinical depression. Mm-hmm. He is a very sensitive kid, an old soul, and we took him to the doctor and worked with the school counselors. We actually took him out of school and I put him in a homeschool program, so he wasn't overstimulated by all of everything that was going on in high school. He just could not handle, and so it was a huge decision to do that. And at the time, the doctor, of course, gave him medication, and we're not so sure about this, but with the research, it can be helpful in certain cases to help you find your way out of a clinical depression. He took one, and he said it made him feel horrible. So he said, "Mom, I'm not taking any more of these." So I said, "Okay, throw him down the toilet." And that's what we did. And then he took a slower journey out. One of the things that he found really helpful was angry, heavy metal music. And he would turn it up loud. He would go running up to his room, slam the door, and use that music to help him process his anger and frustration. And then after about half an hour, it would be turned off, and he'd come downstairs and go, "I feel better now, Mom." It was one of those things that was actually healing for him. Now, here you have to know your child, because for him, in his situation, it was helpful for him to process that dark space that he was in. For some children and some people, doesn't matter your age, it can take you deeper into that. So if this is something that is in your space right now that you're working with and trying to manage, then the music they listen to can be helpful, but you have to be very discerning. And here too, you play really happy music for someone who's feeling really depressed and there's no resonance. So and there might be a resonance. So here too, you have to know your child and explore some of those options.
Thank you. That's wonderful advice. And it's so interesting because my son, around 16, went through some real struggles, and he used music as well in a bit different way, but I, got him a new guitar, and he composed his songs and worked through his emotions that way. So yeah, beautiful way to do that. So, and is that something that, parents could check out with you if, about that, like with your program? Is that something that would help them if they feel like, they need some extra advice or, guidance as far as what music to try? Or
Absolutely. And I can, I can certainly share those websites, and definitely check out those websites at Advanced Brain and MozartEffect.com or .org. Those are really, really helpful. There are many, many other sources. And of course, everything that we do in our program can be shared with the children, especially these tuning forks are so simple and so helpful.
Okay, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Sharon. I've been, reminded of the things that we covered in the program, and it's like, and I've got my tuning forks. It's like I need to make sure I keep them, I think in the kitchen and use them, for myself and my daughter as a reminder. So thank you for that. So is there anything else that you'd like to share with us, or any other thing that I've forgotten to ask you about that you can?
Well, I guess I could leave with one word, one snippet of advice, Nola.
Yeah.
Sound goes through you. Your body does not stop sound waves from going through you.
Okay.
And sound is also food for your nervous system. This is known. Sound stimulates or depresses. It affects your nervous system in a myriad of ways. As sound goes through you, it does this to your atoms and molecules. And depending on the sound, when the sound stops, your entire being can reset to normal, healthy patterns, which is the effect these have, or not. So the words of advice I would like to share is to become aware of the sounds around you and how they are affecting you, whether it's what's going on in your mind, your emotions, your physical body, or your connection to spirit. The connection, how sound brings us to spirit, and our connection there is joy and bliss and happiness with our favorite song. We've all felt that.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for that, Sharon. So can you just remind us, if for people that want to get in touch with you about your program, or your Woodlands song or the tuning forks or whatever, can you just remind us how to get a hold of you, please?
Thanks, Nola. Yeah, absolutely. At soundwellness.com.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sharon.
And thank you so much for inviting me to be here and sharing some tips and tools for parents.
Oh, it's wonderful. And as you say, so easy and so quick.
Mm.
So, all right. Well, thanks again. And yeah, we'll have to do more around the bowls next time.
Okay.